Jumpin In on Manx Radio.
With Howard and Chris Kane.
Hello.
Good evening.
And welcome. Yes, indeed, and here we are once again, settling into our new slot on a Friday night, an alternate Friday night, alternating with our sister programme, Sweet and Swing, of course. Jumping in this evening, the best in modern and contemporary jazz from around the globe with myself, H.
And me, Chris. Yes, hello and welcome to this week's show. Olympics mania is still driving people insane. See what I did there? Well, at least the gold-winning triathlon British athlete Alex Riel, who made a splash last week. Hope he didn't swallow, though. Now, holidays may be more your thing, and what better way to while away an hour on the veranda than with a suitably chilled cocktail and a suitably chilled pair of canes. So, H, what's in your beach bag? Something sounding spicy and hot? Something cool and swinging? Or just a cold and clammy pair of Speedos and a waterlogged sarnie?
Usually the latter, it has to be said. A nice new one from Empirical, who are wondering, where is the beginning? I've been wondering that for years, it has to be said. A blast from the past, Dennis Chambers, the funkiest drummer on the jazz fusion planet, it has to be said. Thought we hadn't heard from him for a while. And a bit of a sad note, but a great recorded legacy, the wonderful Danish drummer Alex Riel, who left us just a few weeks ago.
And from me, we wonder, we wander, we winter, and to set sail, well, what better to set us on course than the Alan Ferber nonette and the title track from his 2006 release, Compass. Compass, taken from the 2007 release of the same name from the Alan Ferber nonette. Regular listeners know we featured Alan's releases both with his nonette and his big band on the show before, and one thing is for sure, his writing for Large Ensemble is up there with the best. With multiple Grammy Awards and nominations, Alan's been at the top of the composers, arrangers and trombonists on the New York scene for over 20 years, with 9 albums in his own name and over 150 with many, many others, including Peter Gabriel, Paul Simon, Dr. Dre and Michael Bublé, as well as all the jazz releases, plus sitting in the horn section of many of the most popular big bands. He also keeps busy as Associate Director of the BMI Jazz Composers Workshop in New York and Adjunct Professor of Jazz Studies at New York University. Slacker. Well, we heard great solos on the track from Will Vinson and on alto, and also from Alan himself on the trombone. The album Compass is available now.
Yeah, honestly, people just have too much talent. That's the problem, isn't it? It is Jumping In, of course, Chris and H with you through until the top of the hour. Now, the scene, as it says, on the brightly lit stage where the UK Jazz Quartet had just rounded off a week-long residency at the 2022 Bath Festival with an outstanding final performance, was a joy to witness. A continuous exchange of admiring glances, irrepressible smiles and heartfelt hugs. The liner notes of Claudia Costenza talking about Empirical playing there at the Bath Festival. We haven't been to Bath for ages. It used to be a good festival. I should try and get down there again. 15 years later, they are getting together as London jazz scene mates and settling on Empirical's core quartet formation with their latest release, Wonder is the Beginning, featuring also as well their friends and wonderful players, Jason Rebello on piano, Alex Hitchcock on tenor sax, and some fascinating track names on this one as well. I rather like the sound of As the Eagle and Ursa the Minor Major Bear. But we're going to hear Sahar World. Lovely. Thought we'd have something a little bit more laid back. Some up-tempo numbers as well on the album, of course. And again, if you're familiar with Empirical, there is always lots of interplay. It is one of those ones where it's not sort of, rhythm section and soloist. There's much more interplay about that, much more of an organic sort of feel to the music, as is often the case when you've got players who've been around for so long and I think know each other intimately the way they're going to play. Nathaniel Facey on alto sax, Tony Farmer double bass, Shaney Forbes drums, Lewis Wright on the vibes there, and Tom Farmer doing a lot of the compositional aspect of the music. I'm trying to think, it's a good 15-20 years, I think, since they first burst onto the scene. The themes of Wonder is the Beginning, we're told in the notes, explores what drives choices such as the human capacity for suffering, curiosity, and for living by principles and values, and how we can create a happier coexistence through listening, mutual understanding, and collaboration, which I suspect at the end of the day is what music is all about. Definitely worthwhile checking that one out, as is always the case. Empirical, Wonder is the Beginning on Whirlwind.
And check out any of the old Empirical albums as well. Yes, jazz indeed has kept us from, as brothers, arguing constantly, certainly over the years, and
always a good sign.
Plenty to go at there.
Oh, yes, it has. No, it hasn't.
Yes, it has. No, it hasn't. Next up from me, another new piano trio. Well, new to me, at least, is that of 37-year-old Glenn Zalinsky and his recent release, Star Dreams, on the Sunnyside label. This, in fact, is the trio's third release on the label, and you can tell that they, too, have settled into a comfortable groove that comes from that trust and familiarity, as you were just saying. Here they are with the lovely ballad, I Wish I Knew. I Wish I Knew from the Glenn Zaleski Trio, and very nice too, the Harry Warren composition. It's been a firm favourite over the years, first released by the Dick Haymes Orchestra back in 1945, but with countless jazz versions. I had a quick Google and found over 200 copy versions of it. Cover versions: Chet Baker, Jimmy Rolls, Nat King Cole, Coltrane, Bill Evans, Karen Krogh, Petula Clark, and many, many others amongst that list. Zaleski says it's a firm favourite of his. A light and easy style of his relaxed soloing makes the whole album a pleasure throughout. Star Dreams is out now, and thanks to Sunnyside for sending that.
Terrific stuff, terrific label as well, Sunnyside. Some cracking music coming out. We're so lucky to get some of this music sent our way for us to enjoy and hopefully tempt you to go out there and buy some of the music as well. Trusty CD, download if you must. LP,
Vinyl if you're wealthy.
Of course, yeah, if you've got the space and the kit. Why not? It's still a wonderful sound. Dennis Chambers, my word, yeah, the biggest, baddest, funkiest jazz drummer on the planet back in the day. Used to play with all sorts of great funk albums with John Scofield in particular, of course, lots under his own name. Used to be everywhere back in the sort of 80s, 90s, whatever. Still on the scene to the best of my knowledge. And I just caught an album, I think it was actually in Razor the last one time I was down, one of his own, Dennis Chambers, Outbreak, Drums and Power, with, when I saw the lineup saying, featuring, amongst others, the Brecker Brothers, John Scofield, Dean Brown, Jim Beard, Will Lee and lots more. Well, I thought I couldn't resist. Let's hear Roll Call. Yeah, he certainly did hit them, I must admit, and still does, as far as I'm aware. I must check out and see what he's up to. And I certainly haven't seen him this side of the Atlantic for a long time, whether he's teaching, whether he's not playing anymore, whether he's playing in funk bands and staying stateside. Don't know. Haven't checked him up for a wee while, but was all over the place 20-odd years ago. It's one of the, like I said, biggest, baddest, funkiest. And he looks like he means business, but a very smiley chap as well. And as you can tell, could definitely play the drums. Roll call, music by Jim Beard. Dennis, of course, on drums. You might have recognised some of the other players. The late, great Michael Brecker on tenor sax, his brother Randy on trumpet, John Harrington guitar, Jim Beard on clavinet and Hammond organ, Will Lee on bass, Arthur Tunsbiasen on shakers. I think, does he play with Oregon these days? I think he does he? I think he does. Am I right in saying that? He's certainly been knocking around there in any case. And then also Jim Himes on a trumpet, Michael Davis trombone in the brass section, Bob Malachi bass, sax and tenor sax, and Aaron Hike on alto. And yeah, I rather enjoyed that. A blast from, more than a blast from a past. A touch of, as we were saying, the Brecker brothers, heavy metal bebop, and some of those albums definitely had a feel of the Breckers about it. Not surprisingly, when you think they were both on it. But a great album, and it was a nice find in the bargain box. You never know what you might find when you go rummaging around.
And you never know what you might find in the bottom drawer either, because there's still more Michael Brecker coming out. And
oh yeah,
you know, there's
probably
loads and loads
Michael Brecker recorded, never been released, I'd imagine.
Well, I would imagine so. We'll carry on funking things up a little bit, but with a different flavour of funk. This time, the third release from the Bristol-based boppers, the Jazz Defenders, who describe themselves as being champions or defenders of the hard bop heritage of such greats as Horace Silver and Art Blakey. Players, they say, who shaped the golden age of Blue Note Records in the 50s and 60s. From their latest release, Memory in Motion, on Haggis Records, here's Meanderthal. do better than that, can you? The Jazz Defenders and Meandertal, although the one thing it didn't do was meander straight ahead, I think. The Jazz Defenders are popping up at various festivals around the UK in the coming weeks, and I feel like they're Blue Note inspirations from the past. They'll have a good part of the crowd heading to the dance floor. So who are they? Well, the main composing duties go to the keyboardist George Cooper, who plays piano, Wurlitzer and organ and vibes, and quite often at the same time hearing jumping between organ and piano on that track. Trumpeter Nick Malcolm, tenor saxophonist Jake McMurtry make up the front line, with the bassist Will Harris and drummer Ian Matthews bringing up the rear. Like we say sometimes, this one is definitely a good car disc and a band I'd like to catch live. Many thanks to Haggis for sending us a copy.
Hi there, this is Binker Golding. You're listening to Manx Radio. This is the Jumping In show with Chris and H.
Great stuff. A little twofer for you there. First off, we had the latest offering from the amazing South African pianist Duduzo Makhathini, who was he's been on the scene for some time now. A great educator. He teaches over at Fort Worth, I think it is, university, if memory serves correct, somewhere along the lines. He's a wonderful educator, a great academic, very deeply influenced by his Zulu roots and the sort of the struggle of black music, and from his background, the townships, an awful lot of that in there, particularly coming from his sort of Zulu background. And wonderful playing, as you can hear as well. Just got a wonderful touch on piano, which makes you think of Dollar Brand, Abdullah Ibrahim, if you prefer. And he's there with his trio on his latest, which has a fairly unpronounceable, I'll give it a whiz, the title of it, which is Unam Kubalawene, I think, his 11th studio album on Blue Note. Check it out and see if you can pronounce it better than I can. A lovely track, and with bassist Zelweke Duma Belle Père and his drummer Francisco Miller. And then off the back of that, as I say, a tribute to the late, great Alex Riel, the wonderful Danish drummer who played with anyone who was anyone back in the 60s. He was like the drum equivalent of Stan Tracy over in Denmark. Played with all the great American players coming through the Danish clubs. And there he was from an album called Relating, with a cracking track called Lil Empum, his nickname for his pet brother, for his little brother apparently. Chris Mandoki on bass. It was Jerry Bagonzi on saxophone and Alex Riel at the drums.
Great stuff indeed. Well, that is just about it for this week's show. But if you remain unconvinced by this piecemeal summer and are readying yourself for seasons to come, perhaps this will cool you down. Due to be released at the end of September is Call for Winter 2, Resonance, from Norwegian tuba and bass trumpet virtuoso Daniel Hørskedal. Let's hear what you can do if you take your big brass instruments along with a bag of microphones and your laptop and lock yourself away in a cabin in the Norwegian mountains for a week. Well, at least you can if you're Daniel Hørskedal. Here's the title track, Call for Winter 2. See you in a couple of weeks.
Indeed.
Bye for now.